The Matrix is hijacking our mind on a regular basis. But why? Is it just for money? Are there more nefarious purposes to be had here? What is the Matrix anyway? Is it an illusion of your mind? Did you create the Matrix to teach yourself something? Are we all here because we are trying to evolve and the Matrix allows us to do that? Or do we need to escape? I suggest we're not escaping anything. We're just removing the illusion that we need to escape. But one of the things that's been happening is people realizing they need to detox because their mind is being jacked. The dopamine has been hit with them on so many different levels that it's really affected their life. And how much? Check out this from Iman Gadzhi.
Over the course of a year, that is 136 days. That is 1/3 of your entire year. Or you see a reel that starts autoplaying and without even thinking about it, you start watching it. And when you see you've already been sucked into watching this entire reel, you're already on to watching the next one. And when you realize that's happening, you don't even remember why you opened the app in the first place. You remember that you had something to do, but you can't even remember what it was. Why? Because they just reset your brain on purpose.
1/3. That's a ton of time. And it's not just time. It's locking in your soul intention, your purpose here. And it does that by design. I suggest that it's doing that to intentionally keep more of us from basically evolving. But that's just a theory. I have no idea if that's true. But if it were true, I suggest they're doing a great job. I mean, they're hijacking your mind right and left. And the dopamine detox, although it's been put out there as some great solution, won't do it. Won't do it at all. There is one solution that will. But before we get there, I want to show you 2 different video clips. Check these out.
It's my 3-step system for crippling the competition with attention. Step number 1, giving your market crack.
In fact, it's the work that the work does on me that makes the work that it does for me so valuable.
Now, they come at you in very different ways, and there's benefits to each. One is more that crack content focus, and the other is just more regular focus, like someone who might talk with you. It doesn't have to be so in your face and all these different words and stuff flying at you right and left, right? So which one is better? And are you in detriment as a content creator by adopting crack content? Well, on one level, that's not hard to answer. As a content creator, I want to match to an audience, not a mass of people looking for a dopamine fix. You know what I mean? So I'm going to create content with that in mind. At the same time, there are benefits with my videos right now that I can mash up the content a little faster with a little more variation, some words, and create more of a story, right? So I know that it actually improves my ability to connect to the right audience. But at the extreme of crack content that corporations have done, it's not good. It's not good. So do you want to go there as a content creator? And as a consumer, which isn't a great word by itself, but whatever, as a consumer of content, are you really going to want to consume that? Or are you going to start to filter those out and really support channels and videos that have a little more depth to them, right? So I'd like to suggest that it's a partnership between the two, that the content creators go ahead and kind of be more intentional about how much they use so many different elements in their videos. And the content consumers, that they basically make more of an intentional choice to watch deep content. And there's one thing that can get us there a bit easier. And it's not just relying on a dopamine detox. That's not enough. There's something else. Now, before we get to what that is, first, let's cover why, like, let's say a slot machine or all these different apps are working so well. They key into a primal bit of the mind that works on finding solutions and not always getting a result. Check this out.
It's a theory called the optimal stimulation theory, and it basically says that all species, whether pigeons, dogs, lions, tigers, bears, humans, you name it, we need a certain level of stimulation in our life. And if we don't get it, we go searching for it elsewhere. Now, if you think about how humans used to live, our lives are pretty stimulating. You were physically working every day. You were mentally working every day. You were outside. You were doing, if we go back to our hunter-gatherer ancestors, you're walking the land looking for food. You're encountering wild animals. You're encountering the elements. You're having to do all these really intense things to survive, right?
And searching, right?
And searching.
I mean, it's more searching than finding. It's more trying than succeeding. You're engaged in the process. You're in that loop, in other words.
So it's naturally inherent within us and within animals in nature to have that like seeking and actually being fed by that seeking. And so really technology has basically hijacked all of that for the benefits of corporations. And I suggest it goes beyond money, but whatever, that's just a theory. Just a theory. Nothing serious. But I suggest that when we look at that a little more closely, we can actually motivate ourselves at a much higher level. And it's really cool when we do that. Check this out.
To be able to sense the craving as its own form of pleasure. This has kind of remnants of Carol Dweck's growth mindset, that you eventually develop a pleasure in the seeking and the striving. If you can start to identify the craving as its own internally released drug, this thing dopamine, that is a source of motivation, then what you realize is that capturing the reward is wonderful, but attaching dopamine to the reward is actually a little bit dangerous. Celebrating the win more than the pursuit, it actually sets you up for failure in the future.
That's the key, is not just saying that dopamine is bad when it's hijacked, but being intentional about how you do it and how much you do it and when it happens, and recognizing there are serious benefits to the hunt, to really going for things and not really getting the quick fix all the time, but coming up empty and then going again and coming up empty and then getting a result. That is the hunt. I would suggest that that's the benefit of being an entrepreneur. I think the entrepreneurial journey actually feeds a huge part of that natural instinct to hunt, and the seeking is part of the motivation. It's not just the reward, and it keeps you sharp on many different levels. But that's a whole other story. Now, the last part, it has to do with why a dopamine detox won't work by itself, and that's because of habits. You'll go back to the habit regardless. It's such a strong subconscious thing. But when you hijack your habit, that's totally different. I personally have found it a lot easier to hijack a habit and use the existing momentum and so on than it is to try to suppress a habit and create a new one. So it goes back to, of course, what are habits. In a basic level, they're a cue or trigger, and then a routine, and then a reward. And hijacking means paying attention to each part of that so you can see what you're really going for. What's the real reward? There might be a cookie, but maybe it's not really the cookie as a reward. It might be the social interaction. Now, there's a lot more to hijacking your habit. You can check out the link in the description below that goes into Charles Duhigg and a couple of his videos. Regardless, the whole idea is to hijack the existing habit and make it your own so that it serves your purpose instead of the corporation's or someone else. But it does take motivation, focus, awareness, and a willingness to adapt. So it's not like you can just do it in your sleep. But when you do it, it does work, and it gives you a lot more intentionality within your life overall than it is just doing these short tactics like dopamine detox. But what do you think? What do you think? Now, the reason I created this is because there's a battle going on for your attention to focus in different ways. And when you start to understand how that works, it's much easier to basically guide your own life away from the default or away from the way the Matrix wants you to go to the way you want to go. And as a channel, that's my strong focus. It's like freedom. How do we cultivate that freedom on a micro scale and a macro scale? So that's why I did this, and I'm hoping you found this useful. If you did, share it with someone who you think would also benefit. Like and subscribe. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you next time.